Tony, I heard from a friend that you have a service on the internet called Luv something, Luv?
LuvMasters.net.
LuvMasters.net, and I just wondered what it was.
Well, it's a service that looks at personality dimensions, assesses those, and those personality dimensions are used for selecting future relationships.
Well, is that like a matchmaking service?
Well, that's a good question because it really isn't. It's quite different from that. We look at identifying the dimensions and personality you should be looking for. A matchmaking service is dealing with people and meeting someone. So this is more in depth. So that this is more a psychological look rather than the traditional face-to-face situation that you do. Have reasonable trust of other people, but
not too much, maybe.
It's a very relative thing. The thing is, you have to pick someone with the same trust level that you do, and that's all you can. I don't know if there's anything perfect trust thing, but it's been a past issue for you.
Right.
But it's more of a positive now in your life than it was in the past because you've learned. Now, in the written report, which we'll send you after all this is done, it'll talk about your areas of strength, but most people are interested in their areas of growth. Now, the dominating thing here is your need for other people's structure, thought patterns, a map in terms of how to live your life. So one of the things you have to learn to be more independent structurally. Now, what that means, if your partner, which could be male or female, we're not talking about the sex of that partner. It would be someone that has a good structural ability, but will allow you to develop your own. In that situation, he'd be teaching, or she would be teaching you what I would call cognitive ability, and you would be teaching emotional skills. So it's a paradox in many ways.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's true of most of these dimensions. One strength teaches another strength, and of course, unfortunately, one weakness teaches another weakness. That's why you have to be so aware. So
I have to be aware that it's just very easy for me to get into a situation that's controlling.
Allowing the control.
Allowing the control.
Because this is broader than just a relationship. We're talking about how you lead your life. And it's true, it plays in a relationship that way.
Oh, yeah.
Putting relationships aside, you have to have more confidence in the way you think about things, rather than substituting that for somebody else's
ideas, yeah.
And of course, what we're saying in this area of growth, what you've done in past relationships, you've done that exact thing, and you have to pay for that structure they offer.
Yeah.
And usually it's abusive in nature.
Right. Fortunately, it hasn't been, but hasn't felt very good.
Okay. Another area is an obvious area. It's the area of what other characteristics should be in that individual. You have to demand more out of those individuals than you normally do. Like, for instance, you have good intelligence. And good perceptive ability, but you pick people who are not quite as smart, and of course you have a tendency to beat up on that. So one of the things you have to do is to pick people of equal intellectual ability. Now, how can you tell that?
Yeah.
Well, there's a flow of conversation because there's a sharing of ideas. They're aware, you're aware. They have interest, you have interest. But it's hard to describe it other than saying it's easy to talk to that person, and there's a thirst for it. You need to talk to that person. That person is part of you. We'll go back to the trust issue. That's an historic issue in terms of both being a strength and a weakness.
Right.
And that's one of the things you really have to work on. Because if you don't trust, you're going to find somebody else that doesn't trust either, surprisingly.
But I trust. I think sometimes too much.
That's why you have to pay attention to the other elements, you know.
Yeah.
You know, an example, you like someone, but every time you see him, he has another woman in the house or something like that, and oh, you don't have to worry about that. That's just a friend. I mean, you got to pay attention to what you see and have confidence in it.
Right.